Hi, I'm Sherri with Garden Gate Magazine, and I'm here today at Bochner Farms with Lori and Jim Bochner, who run a cut flower farm. But recently they've installed this beautiful cottage garden, and so I thought I would talk to them a little bit about how they did it and what they did. And it wasn't there wasn't anything here when you started, is that right? Can you tell us a little bit more?
It was just grass. Nothing was here. It was probably mostly weeds. And then last fall we decided, I don't know, I had this weird feeling that I just had to build a cottage garden. And we're flower farmers, so we're very busy.
Yeah.
Didn't have it in our plans at all, but I just had this feeling that I had to build this cottage garden. It had to be a big, magnificent cottage garden. So late September last year, so this is only a year old, almost a year old.
Amazing.
We started building, and it's 22 raised beds.
Great.
And I organized them in a fun pattern that would be a good place to walk through. I wanted it to be abundant and colorful. And so they tilled up the land. We've covered all of the ground. I don't know what the dimensions are.
I don't remember the dimensions.
Probably 40 by 120 or something.
I know the boxes are 2 by 12s.
And how did you make the boxes? What are they made of? And
Treated brown wood. They're 2 by 12s, and then we did 12-foot boxes by 4 foot wide. So we wanted a little height to it.
cool. And you did the raised beds because the soil?
So I wanted to do the raised beds because I wanted things to be elevated. Well, first probably the soil, because we have pretty bad clay soil, and it was the end of the season when we wanted to get started, and I wanted to get all the beds built before winter hit.
Oh yeah.
So we didn't really have time to spend all the time mending the soil and getting it ready. So it was kind of dual purpose, but mostly I think it was just, even if we had nice soil, I think I still like the look of the raised gardens, and then it has like deeper pathways.
Sure.
Makes kind of a labyrinth too, and you don't have to bend as far.
Yeah. That's always good.
So we spent end of September, October building out all the beds, and then our granddaughter passed away in November, very unexpectedly.
Yeah.
And so we continued filling the beds, and then it kind of sat here all winter.
Sure.
And I spent my winter planning what I wanted to plant, where I wanted to lay things out, archways, what I wanted, obelisks, the vertical interest.
Yeah.
So I spent all that time planning, and it really was a healing experience to occupy my mind,
Sure.
during that cold winter.
That makes sense.
And so that was really fun. So as I was planning it, somebody asked me if we decided to make this garden in her honor. And it hit me kind of like a ton of bricks at that moment that we actually had started it 2 months earlier out of the blue.
Yeah.
So I really do feel like this is her place. Sorry.
That's okay. Nice.
So I feel like this is her place, and it's been a healing experience. People talk about gardening is just getting your hands in the dirt. It's healing.
Yeah.
And it's been a lifesaver.
Kind of
sure.
a happy place.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But so winter time was spent planning, and
Sure.
I was very strategic about what I wanted to plant here because I'm not an expert gardener. He's a master gardener. I'm not, but I do love flowers.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to make sure it was bountiful and blooming from beginning of the season all the way through fall. And we're sitting here in September, and there's still quite a lot of color in the garden. And I wanted it to be high, and so I had graph paper mapped all over my kitchen, and I was like drawing, and I had it in pencil, so I was erasing, and so this is kind of the end product of that work. And so that was nice all winter. And then in the spring we just started planting and weeding, and I
What did you fill
stunned at how
what did you
big
use
it's
for
gotten.
the soil?
So we used a mix of regular garden soil. So we had a dump truck of garden soil dumped. Is that what you call it? Garden
What's
soil.
the compost from the...
Well, we got compost and garden soil.
Yeah.
So we got, it's a mixture of compost and garden soil.
So it's really nice.
And so we kind of layered that
soil.
in.
Yeah.
And then it was able to sit all winter. And then
that's
the
nice,
snow came, and kind of got it
Did it
prepared.
settle a lot, or?
It settled some, but not a
yeah.
lot.
Not
So
too
we
much.
topped off with compost in the spring to make sure everything.
Okay.
The compost does tend
everything
to
was
settle down
ready.
because it's a lighter mix. So
Yeah.
So when you had all your plans, did you follow the plan, or that's what I always want to know.
We sort of.
Yeah.
I think partly, with 22 raised beds.
Yeah.
When we planted from here to there.
Yeah. Okay.
And so this is pretty much according to plan. But then once you get down to there, my daughter and I did most of the planting, and so we just started. How many of these you got? We just started stuffing things in everywhere, which is fine. And I thought about doing. I spent a lot of time over the winter researching cottage gardens, and some of them have kind of a color palette. And so I thought about doing a color palette, but then I kept going back to, I really want that color too.
Yeah.
And so then I just decided, you know what? Forget the color palette. We're just going to look like a rainbow exploded in here, and that's what we're going for. And so I think that made it easier to plan too.
Yeah, that's
because then I
true.
could shove things in anywhere I wanted.
Yeah.
So it turned out,
Okay, let's take a walk then and check out some of these plants.
All right, let's do it.
So this is one of the beautiful beds in your garden, and I see you have a nice mix of annuals and perennials. Can you tell us a little bit about how you decided to put things together and what you were thinking?
Sure. So we decided to do a mix of perennials and annuals because I didn't want to fill in the entire garden with perennials from the get-go, because I wanted, since it was the first year, I wanted to kind of get a lay of the land and see what I liked and didn't like. So this is probably maybe 40% perennial, 60% annual. But we've got, for perennials in here, we've got some of the liatris, we've got veronica, phlox, yarrow,
daylily.
there's a daylily back there. There's a red echinacea and a yellow.
Nice.
You've got some foxglove, which is done, but foxglove is in there. Lavender, lady's mantle.
You have a lot,
So quite a few. And then we've got some dahlias mixed in, and I
Zinnias
planted the zinnias because I made sure to plant zinnias and marigolds throughout, even though they're annual, but then I knew I could rely on color throughout the entire season. And I just wanted to make sure. This first season is going to be weird too, because since I planted everything, it's not going to be in its normal bloom cycle.
Oh yeah, sure.
So it'll be interesting next year to see what blooms when and how it all fits together.
Yeah.
Looks
good.
And we got hyacinth bean, which is an annual. It's the first time I've grown hyacinth bean, and it's going crazy.
It's going nuts.
I love it, and the hummingbirds love it.
Yes, we've seen a ton of hummingbirds out here, so it's fabulous.
So it's been
That's
really
great.
good. It's been fun.
And is there anything that you love about this bed, or anything that you'd change?
So the one thing I think I learned is this is lemon verbena. I did not realize it would get this tall. So I probably would have put this in the middle and maybe the zinnias kind of on the outside. So that is a lesson learned. But both are annual, so I can do it over next year.
That's right.
And then this, I'd never grown coleus before.
Oh yeah, it's
and
beautiful.
So my son works at the garden center, and so he said you have to have coleus just because the foliage is so beautiful. So we have several different types of coleus throughout the garden.
Great.
But again, I had no idea it was going to be so tall.
It's very happy there.
So I've got my marigolds and veronica, and then
So
that's probably the biggest thing I think that would be a mistake, or maybe a mistake, a lesson. Is how tall
Height
this
variances.
stuff get.
Sure. Well, and that varies, depending on your soil and the moisture, that can vary a little bit too. So
for sure,
you get the sense of how your garden is operating.
Most definitely. And as plants mature too, like newer daylily, so it's going to mature and get larger.
Yes, take more space. Yeah. Great.
Yeah, so the wonderful thing about gardening is you can make a mistake and it's fine. Like, I'm not an expert gardener.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert gardener, and I just studied up on things and just kind of used my imagination and learned some things, which will be fine. I can fix them next year. No harm, no foul.
Exactly.
We definitely continue to learn every day. So.
Oh, for sure.
But it's fun to learn the lessons and try things.
Yeah. It is. And it's a beautiful experiment.
Even when you make a mistake, it's beautiful. So.
These are beautiful mistakes.
Do you have to do a lot of deadheading?
Yes.
Certain ones.
Yeah. The yarrow requires a lot of deadheading. I probably should deadhead that foxglove. But I'm letting some things go to seed because I'm hoping maybe we'll get some reseeding action happening. So some things I'm intentionally deadheading late.
Okay.
Like the zinnias, we're leaving a little longer.
Sure.
When we grow them for cut flowers, we're definitely deadheading more often, but we're leaving those because they add so much color when they mature.
Yeah.
Mature blooms.
Color.
Sure.
They're staying.
Great.
But yeah, and the phlox probably could be deadheaded.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
Dianthus.
It is a lot of deadheading. But
Nice.
there's enough bounty here that
Yeah.
you don't really notice.
Yes. Yeah.
Because your eye's drawn
There's
to where
like
They cover
the
for
color's
each
so
going.
other.
much color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did intentionally overplant. So I wanted to do that for weed suppression, and I wanted to create this overflowing garden
Yeah.
feel. And so
Nice,
I
yeah.
did not follow any rules as it was related to plant spacing.
How did you Did you worry about that, or just gonna plunk them in?
I did not worry about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did not.
Yeah.
I just stuck, like, I think this is probably maybe 3 or 4
Oh,
yarrows.
okay.
There's always
A
probably
lot
should
of we
be
grew
one.
from seed, so yeah.
Yeah.
So they're just very crowded, and they're still doing fine.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, it looks great. Okay, let's take a look at the rest of the garden.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
This is so amazing. You can't even see the obelisk below.
True.
So, how did you? What's the structure underneath? How did you make that?
So these are obelisks. They're triangles. You can't tell, but Jim actually built them from scratch himself.
Yeah, they're 4-sided. I just found a plan online. It didn't even have dimensions or anything, so I'm kind of a jack of all trades. So I just kind of
Yeah, I
winged it.
guess.
So, but they turned out pretty
Nice.
good.
Did you have to finish them or anything, or like sealant or anything?
I didn't since it was a treated wood. So.
Oh, it was treated. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And what do you have? And it's moonflower.
So So I had an idea. This is one of those situations where you have these ideas. Sometimes they work and don't. I would say this did not work. So it's moonflower and black-eyed Susan vine.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so it's a pink black-eyed Susan vine, and obviously it was supposed to be white moonflower.
Yeah.
But the moonflower foliage went so crazy, it
Yeah.
overtook the black-eyed Susan vine.
And
So
pushed it down.
if you look really carefully, you can see a few, but they really got overtaken.
Yeah.
And then the moonflower's not blooming for some reason.
Oh, yeah.
So I have big, tall green. So
Which is
next
very
year I will
pretty,
do
but
something different
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But
Very interesting.
It sounded good in theory.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's just gardening, isn't it?
This spring when I told people my plan, they're like, "Ooh, that'll be cool."
Yeah,
I
it
was
sounds
like,
great. Yeah. Well,
And I don't know why it's not blooming. I haven't over fertilized it. I've only fertilized it maybe once
Yeah.
all season. So I don't know.
that
It's
is
a mystery.
interesting.
Such a cool look, though. It's just
The foliage is really pretty,
Yeah.
though.
It's
It
heart
does
shaped.
look- Yeah,
which
so
is
that's
kinda
kind of
cool.
neat.
large
yeah.
and in charge.
Yeah,
But yeah,
for sure.
that's our obelisk. We have 4 of them.
Yep.
4,
And-
okay.
The OCD person in me, all 4 obelisks had to be the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
So they're all 4 moonflower and black-eyed Susan vine.
Yeah, good.
And then we have 4 arches at each end, and all of those are hyacinth bean.
And what are your arches made of? How did you make those?
So those we ordered online. I just
Okay.
found them, and they're like a metal,
Oh,
the
nice,
traditional
yeah.
Black metal frame.
frame. Yeah,
Cool.
they're
And
black.
you were saying you put 4 on each arch?
Yeah, on
4
each side. So
on
there's a
each-
total of 8 plants on each arch, which might be why I've had to trim it so much. I didn't know. I've
Yeah, sure.
never grown so much of this stuff.
Yeah.
So much of it was totally an experiment. So I don't know what the rule of thumb is, but I did 2 on each side because just in case something died,
Sure.
I would
Makes
have
sense,
to
yeah.
have
Yeah.
a chance.
And I
So-
anchored them to the boxes too, obviously because of the weight and
Oh, yeah,
the wind.
that
We
makes
get a lot of
sense.
wind pressure out here. So.
Oh, I bet you do, yeah.
But they're
Yeah.
definitely abundant.
Now, does the hyacinth make a good cut flower? Have you tried that yet?
So we have U-cut experiences out here at
Yeah.
the farm, and I have not used it in bouquets, but a lot of the U-cut people
our
do come over
customers
and get a couple sprigs.
And
to
that's
put in
where
there.
people come out and they can cut their own bouquets. Nice. That's
Yeah.
cool.
And they cut some in the cottage garden. I tell them they can, but this really isn't supposed to be truly a cutting garden. We have cut flower fields that they go into.
Yeah.
But they always wander in here and pick out
Yeah.
a few goodies because they'll come get the salvia sometimes
Sure.
and get the hyacinth.
As we let these do what they want, and the cut flowers, we train them,
Yeah.
more for long stems and straight stems. So.
Okay. That makes sense.
Just,
Yeah.
just goes crazy.
Cool. Okay, then let's go take a look at the rest of the garden.
Sounds good.
Now this pergola is really a centerpiece in the garden. It's really pretty. How did you find it? How did you choose this style?
I did actually spend a lot of time trying to decide what I wanted for the center of the garden.
Yeah.
And I was trying to decide, did I want metal to match the 4 arches or did I want something wood?
Yeah.
And I decided that I wanted something super substantial because it is a really big garden.
Yeah.
And so I wanted something that had a lot of weight and carried a lot of weight. And I felt
Makes
like
sense,
the heavy wood structure really anchored the center.
Yeah.
So we ended up just buying a kit
Yeah,
and hiring
nice.
someone to assemble it for us.
Perfect.
So it needs to be stained, but otherwise, I'm very pleased with how it turned out. I feel like it really does centralize things. And then I haven't decided yet if I want something growing on here.
Like on the top, yeah.
Because I like the wood
Or
look.
permanently up to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It is nice to see the structure, but
It is,
yeah,
because-
but the cypress vines are beautiful.
Because the obelisks are completely covered and the archways are completely covered. So I
Yeah.
almost sort of like something just growing maybe on the
Sure.
pillars, but not over the entire thing.
Yeah.
So what I did for this year was I just put pots in here and I planted cardinal vines. So it has a little bit of, elevated
Yeah.
structure. And I think next year I'll continue with an annual, but probably not cardinal vine because it needs a little more water. And so they kind of struggled a little bit this year.
It was gorgeous though.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love the red because red was our granddaughter Ava's favorite color.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So
And the hummingbirds love it.
and the hummingbirds
They
love
do.
it. So
Yeah, I
maybe I'll
think-
just water it more next year and do it again. I don't know. But yeah, so I'm pleased with the annuals and leaving it natural
Cool.
wood.
Yeah. And this bed in front of us is gorgeous. I love the rudbeckia and the salvia together. Really nice.
Yeah, these I grew. So I grew so many things from seed this year that I never had grown before.
Nice.
So this is Gloriosa Daisy.
Nice. Yeah.
I did not know it was going to get so big, and if I would have known, again, I would have put it in the center because there is a dahlia in there.
Oh, yeah.
There's some Korean mint in there, which is a perennial, and like you can see that Echinacea buried down
yeah,
in there.
for sure. Yeah.
So things need to maybe be moved around a little bit, but I love the sage salvia.
yeah.
I got 3 colors, purple and then white, and then there's red scattered throughout the garden too,
Oh,
but
of
they've
course,
just grown in
Yeah, and
so abundantly.
The coleus looks great too. Did you start that from seed as well?
I got this at the garden
The
center.
plant. Okay, nice.
I don't
Very
know.
good.
I've never tried growing coleus from seed.
Not you
before.
can't grow all of them from seed. There are some varieties you can
Okay.
grow from seed, but
Maybe I'll
that's a beautiful
Just
one.
adds so much color,
Yeah.
when you start to lose color in the later part of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the bright color combo here this late in the season.
Yeah.
We wanted pollinator friendly. Too. Or
Certainly
bee
have
friends.
that. We saw some bees just a little while
Lots
ago,
of
didn't
bees,
we?
yeah.
Lots of bees.
Yeah. Some bees and
So I'm pleased.
yeah.
It turned out pretty good.
That's good. That's good. This bed is just gorgeous. Let's go take a look at a few more.
Sounds good. Let's
perfect.
do it.
Now, Jim, I could not help but notice this beautiful daylily and the fact that it's September. So we have this gorgeous flower. What's the daylily, and tell us about that.
This is Omega Red, and we're actually getting lucky enough to see some of the rebloom. Most daylilies are reblooming, but being in Iowa, we just don't. Our season isn't extended long enough to see a lot of them.
Interesting. Interesting.
But yeah, Lori gave me a shopping list for different heights, and I did a good job on this one because it's a proper height for the center.
To be in the cottage garden, you have to be a tall daylily,
Yeah.
or you're just going to get swallowed up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, it's a winner.
Nice. And you hybridize daylilies.
Yeah, I
don't you?
hybridize daylilies, and we actually grow them for sale too. So I've got over 500 different varieties of daylilies now, and
Amazing.
My goal is to have 1,000. So,
Cool.
but yeah, I love them. It's my passion, and
Yeah.
I've got thousands of seedlings out in the field.
Oh, that'll be fun to see. We'll have
Future
to come
hopefuls.
back and visit.
Most definitely, yeah.
Come back
For
in
sure.
July.
July,
Yeah.
it's spectacular to see the entire field, about an acre. all
Oh,
blooming.
wow. That'll be beautiful. I look forward to seeing that. So I noticed you have some dahlias over here, and I know you mentioned you were evaluating them. Maybe we can go take a look at those too.
Definitely.
Great. So I see you guys have this beautiful bed of dahlias, and I think you mentioned you started them from seed. Is that right?
Yes.
That's amazing.
This is the first time that we tried growing dahlias from seed. So we ordered seed and planted them this winter, sowed them this winter in our studio, and then planted them out here this spring. So we've got one whole bed here and then a half a bed here. And so we're just kind of looking to see which varieties we like, which ones have stronger stems, beautiful blooms,
Good height.
good height. And so we'll dig up the tubers of the ones that we actually like, and then we'll replant them next year and see how they do next year. So there's a mix of varieties in here.
Do you have some favorites right now, or?
there's a two-tone color one over there. I like the little collarettes. The center of this one's kind of interesting when it's yellow. So I don't know, they all have their own little attributes, but we'll see which ones. I'm gonna start
Kinda
labeling
salmon-colored
them probably
Love
middle of
that.
September. I'll start just tagging which ones I like.
And then do you let the foliage die back and then dig them, or?
So
We'll let the frost kill it.
yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, after first frost, we'll let it set for 2 or 3 weeks after that, and then we'll chop all foliage off and then dig them up and store 'em.
Dig the whole entire root ball to store till probably about February.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
And then do you start them in pots then?
We don't. We split them. He'll split them throughout winter. We have hundreds of dahlias in the cut flower field that we'll dig and then store them all winter, and then we plant them out in May.
So I'll come out on a nice day with my rain gear and I'll blast all the dirt off and then let them dry, and then I'll surgically kind of go in and start separating the tubers.
Oh, cool.
But yeah. So I'll probably keep maybe 20% of these.
Okay.
The rest, probably not. We'll see.
Well, they look good, just like the whole garden. It's been a beautiful, beautiful tour. Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for coming out.
We'll hope to come back, see you next year, talk about daylilies, maybe cut flowers,
Yes.
some things.
Most definitely. My
Yeah,
passion.
or come back in the spring, because we're going to be planting hundreds, you don't know this yet, we're going to be planting hundreds of tulip and daffodil bulbs in here.
Oh, cool.
And I have some allium and maybe some hyacinth as well. So we're going to plant that all the way through so that we have color right away, first thing, before everything else gets planted.
Well,
so
we will definitely be back and come see that.
we're not, this is just year one. We're not done.
That'll be great. This is
Thank
great.
you so much for coming out.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yes, it was fun.
Yeah.